As you see, they've got a neck on the floor. He's got his hand on her neck.
Straight out of Wales with the wind in his sails, he's tipping the scales, Silurian trails, revealing their names while he's lifting their veils. Public assails, no one exhales, won't read in the mail, it's not printed in braille, no bonus for sales, the light will prevail, he's telling the tale while he's hot on the trail, whole nother scale, he's hammering the nail, he's trolling and rolling the camera and showing the standard that's double, exposing the bubble, removing the muzzle, he's always got trouble, he's fighting the muscle and solving the puzzle, he's taking the fight and he's spreading the light and he's doing it right, taking dark as the night and he's making it bright and providing insight while he's flooding your eyes like a hare in the headlight.
Press, don't even pick on me. Are you watching this? The press aren't allowed to film.
Injustice is served, collar crime is submerged. Don't be absurd, your vision is blurred. He's seen it occur, so right there on the curb. His iPhone record, he's filming the herd. BLM thugs act like Tom's high on drugs. They wrecking the place, they're smashing the face. He's in with the thick, in with hammers and sticks, exposing the truth, he's showing the proof. He's trolling and rolling the camera and showing the standard that's double, exposing the bubble, removing the muzzle. He's always got trouble, he's fighting the muscle and solving the puzzle. He's taking the fight and he's spreading the light and he's doing it right, taking dark as the night and he's making it bright and providing insight while he's flooding your eyes like a hare in the headlight.
You just don't want to see it there. You just don't want to see the violence. You don't want to see the violence on some of those people. 3 people on a woman.
Support for the vets, pray unless we forget the pain he besets and the truth he projects. He's a victim of threats, but he never regrets. Live stream the upsets, no printing gazettes. He's taken the test, got the pedo's address. No south, east or west, he streams the protest. No news is suppressed, the whole truth is expressed. Twin standards he tests, he's facing arrest. He's trolling and rolling the camera and showing the standard that's double, exposing the bubble, removing the muzzle. He's always got trouble, he's fighting the muscle and solving the puzzle. He's taking the fight and he's spreading the light and he's doing it right, taking dark as the night and he's making it bright and providing insight while he's flooding your eyes like a hare in the headlight.
There's 4, 5 on one. There's 2 on a girl. They pinned her to the floor. This one's getting a bully boy tactics. That's from the TSG probably. Sergeant, yeah.
Evening, folks. If you could please all share. For some reason, it's not sharing to where I've sent it. It's only sharing to, I think, one Facebook and also only to YouTube. As soon as I get my first guest on, I'll get him to talk about himself and what I'll basically do. I'll try and start sharing this out. If you could all please start sharing, folks, because I seem to have a problem at the moment. So, yeah, it might be Facebook mucking about because I have sent it to another 6 places as well as my group. So we'll see where we go from there. Okay, I'm going to bring on Darren first of all. I have got Shaun coming on later, hopefully, so it should be okay. He'll be talking about alternative medicines. So if you could send in questions and stuff like that, that would be great. So I'm going to bring, well, first of all, yeah, I'll bring Darren on. Right, Dar, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to let you talk about yourself, and I know it's going to be pretty hard. But I'll introduce you properly. Darren is actually he works. He's got a family. He also does quite a bit for PCP Wales. Does a lot of fundraising and stuff like that. And he's done a 140-mile walk. He's done the 3 peaks. He's also done what was it? A fasting as well.
Did a 7-day fast. Yeah, water fast.
7-day fast. And he also did a lot of work for, if you could please share, folks, he also did a lot of work for the barrister, Paul Diamond. Am I correct? Yeah?
Yeah.
So,
sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so what would you like to say about PCP Wales? What was your, I wouldn't say idea, why do you support them so much? Because I know the reason why I support
them. Just the briefest of backgrounds. I'm pretty much anti everything. Now, Our daughter is homeschooled for different reasons than the RSE. She is homeschooled, so obviously, to quite a large degree, I'm anti the education system as well as it stands at the moment. It's, in my opinion, it's more of an indoctrination system. In all honesty, Catherine got involved. Now I know Adele from our young days, growing up. She lived in the same street, quite a bit younger than me, but we lived in the same street. Kim sort of came into their lives. Like, say, Catherine was a lot more involved way before I met Kim, and was doing bits and bobs. I think they've certainly formed a good friendship. So when I found out about the fight, and I'd done a little bit of, not a massive amount, I'd done a little bit of research here and there, and from what I could see, Kim had it bang on. She started, or she was at least at the time, talking about fundraising to fund the court case, etc., etc. Wondering what I could do. I basically done the 140-mile walk. As you said, I did a fast after. Oh no, it was the Three Peaks next. That was an outstanding day. There was a lot of us. It wasn't just me. There was a lot of us. That was an outstanding day. Did the fast after. Obviously, I got my next. Well, I haven't done anything fundraising for a year. But yeah, as was said, Kim asked me to basically do the paperwork, do the solicitor's job to some degree. They had no solicitor. They only had the barrister, Paul Diamond. The solicitor's work is below his pay grade, in all fairness, and it adds valuable time, which he could be doing more important things. So yeah, I took on the opportunity and the challenge, and here I am.
You also,
Back
I know I've missed out another one. You did 24-hour skate-a-thon as well.
I did do the 24-hour skate-a-thon. That was a good day as well. There's social events. It's a good community. Whenever there's a protest, a meetup or whatever with PCP, they're a good bunch of people. Have a good chat. I like to talk, so there's plenty of ears there for me. It's good. There's a good group of people, in all fairness. I enjoy it. As antisocial as I can be, I enjoy the group. I've even been to some actual social events with them, which I could have otherwise turned down. I turned up. So yeah, that's testament to how good these people are. There's some good people, and they deserve, for the cause. It's the least I could do. I'm not really giving that much in the grander scheme of things. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of time and maybe a couple of achy muscles, and it's my little bit. And I don't know. I think maybe I've probably waffled on too much now on that subject. Next.
Yeah, I know. What about your the work in the background you did for Paul Diamond, the solicitor?
Yeah,
that must have taken some time to do a lot of research and stuff like that. Because
yeah, and 2 secs.
Because Darren was did a lot of work with Paul Diamond for PCP Wales, the barrister. So obviously Darren was doing a lot of the legwork. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't like to feel that I'm taking too much of the credit. The job was Paul's. The expertise is Paul's. The knowledge was Paul's. Yes, I did do some legwork, finding case laws, etc., etc. But Paul is a human rights lawyer. I believe that's his main speciality. So when it came to the human rights law, Paul was already the expert. I would assume that he can just pop up these cases from memory. So there were other aspects, principle of legality and Gillick in particular, which I had to research. But again, it's a thing which I enjoy doing. I got stuck into law, and I am just a layman. I've got no qualifications. I learned the law through circumstance, and I like learning generally. Multiple topics. If it interests me, it interests me. And law is one of those things. There's no end to the education, the learning. And I've been into, I got into it originally. God, excuse me. It'll be 12 years or so where I sort of got my toes in the common law, freeman of the land side of it, which led me drastically into the legal side. So I've got some experience then, I think is the point. I can feel myself rambling off again. So I've got some experience. I'm not qualified. I did do a bit of research for Paul and so on, and things which he didn't particularly ask me for. That's I like digging. So when I was finding any gems, I would send them over to him to see if they were as gemish to him as they were to me, and in some cases they were. The biggest part for me, the biggest involvement for me with regards to that task, it was preparing the documents for court. They have to be done a certain way, of a lesser standard in the lower courts, in your county courts. Once you move into the high court, then the standard kind of increases a little bit. They want it right. Double line spacing, numbered paragraphs, paginated pages, etc., etc. It needs to be done a specific way. There's a minimum font size and a particular range of fonts which they like, and so on, so on. So that was the biggest part of it, transferring essentially sort of rough documents into a format which is acceptable. Prepared the original bundle to go in. And just generally legal dog's body, although not legal. I'm not allowed to pretend that I'm legal in any way, shape or form, because I'm not. So yeah, I pretended to do the legal stuff as a layman. And yeah, that was pretty much, that was the main involvement. And it was good. I learned a lot. When you're looking at court stuff, generally speaking, the narrative is that judicial review hearings are very complicated, and even in the original order from the court, if I remember rightly, it was the original order granting the judicial review. The judge actually made some comment in there that it's a complicated case and it will need strict case management. Do you know what I mean? It is seen as the quite a complex thing to do. But I've now learned the complete process to do a judicial review on top of my other court processes. So again, I've come away from it a winner as well. I've expanded my knowledge and my experience as well, and it's been an absolute privilege to work with the team and an absolute privilege to work with Paul. you know, I'm quite suspicious of legal professionals, based on experience, but I am quite suspicious of them. Shouldn't tar everyone with the same brush, but I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, believe that Paul he's a good guy. I think he's got morals. He's decent. I've got faith in him, to be honest, and I hope it doesn't turn out that I'm wrong, but I think a lot of people are on the same side as me with regards Paul. I think he's a gem of a man. And he was turned out he was really the last hope for Kim and Co as well. You know, everybody else turned it down. So yeah, hats off to Paul. And again, right, somebody who I feel doesn't get enough recognition, and this isn't taking anything away from Kim. I mean, she's a full-on soldier. Fair dues to her. She, you know, she literally runs herself into the ground. Again, hats off to Kim, but you know, Lucia, she's always there. You know, and without taking it away from Kim, she gets an awful lot of recognition. And Lucia is, you know, again, looking from the outside in, she's come a long way just in the time that I've been involved. You know, everyone's a key member. It's a team effort. But I think there would probably be some major downfalls if Lucia was removed. Not downfalls, that sounds really negative. You know what I mean, don't you? I mean, she's an integral part of the team, and I feel that she doesn't get enough recognition sometimes. And I think I can say that for the whole. I'm not going to go naming names for obvious reasons, but the whole team, and yourself, in fact, you're at every single event and every single protest, regardless of where it is. There you are. You know, so hats off to you as well. You know,
Lucia, if you ever saw her first speech, and she's kind of pushed into it slowly. I think it took place down in Neon. She did do a few bits at the Senate, but she was pushed more into the presentation side of it, and then you could see her blossom in front of you, like, do you know? She can hold the demo on her own now, not a problem.
You know. Her head is filled with knowledge. You know,
that's it.
She can just spout it off when needed now, you know what I mean? And, you know, without sounding cheesy, knowledge is power.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you're doing another fundraiser. If
I
somebody
am
could
doing
put that
another
up
fundraiser.
if somebody could put the fundraiser link in the comments, please, that'd be great. So what are you
Brilliant.
doing
Thank you.
Saturday, Darren?
Right. So this Saturday, myself and my not so little girl are walking from Brecon to home. Now the Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal, it actually starts in Brecon and it runs within 5-minute walk of our house. It's a regular dog walk. We plan on doing it in one stretch. Obviously we're gonna have breaks in between, and I've decided I'm having a box full of egg mayonnaise sandwiches. They're my favorite sandwiches, and I thought they're full of protein. They're easy to eat, even if you've got a dry mouth, and they're damn good. So it's a box of egg mayonnaise sandwiches, and we are going to walk. Basically, it's about 38. I haven't got an accurate map because it's the canal. I haven't got an accurate map with a real accurate mileage on this. So the best I can give you is 38 and a half miles. I'm pretty confident it's easily going to take us 12 hours. Easily 12 hours, probably a bit more in reality. Grace, although she does walk quite fast, she walks a little bit slower than me. And because Grace is coming, I'm going to have an heavier rucksack on my back as well, which will slow me down a little bit. I mean, it's not too weighty, but, you know, I am going to need a change of clothes for us just in case, and some wet gear, and then probably an extra pair of shoes as well. So, yeah, after a year off, of fundraising because I was busy doing other things. I thought I would get one in before Christmas.
Can I bring Shaun on for a minute?
Yeah, please
and then
do.
We can carry on with it.
Yeah, carry on.
By the way, folks, I think that's Shaun's phone squeaking. Yeah, the fundraiser is at the bottom, folks, for Darren's walk. You want to carry on, Dar? Right, Shaun?
Hi, Shaun.
Good evening, guys. Darren.
How are you?
I'm alive. I'm alive and kicking and still fighting a good fight.
Good on you.
You've got it, haven't you? What else can you do?
Yeah.
So, folks,
folks,
if you can put any questions in the comments, I'll put them to Shaun afterwards. So if you carry on.
You're putting me on the spot, Phil. I haven't got my material with me, you know. I haven't got my educational material with me.
It there, mate.
Well, I'll try to answer questions, but what I will say to people, if you've got health issues and you're wanting to get off Big Pharma, which is what we all want, we want to kill the fuckers and destroy their profits, just message me with your health issues, and then what I usually do when I do the consultations, I'll do a bit of studying for a couple of hours, look into what your problems is, and then I'll message you back with alternative medicines, which are all made naturally with good, wholesome ingredients rather than the shit they put in. Just in case I can't answer anybody on a live.
Okay. So, Dag, can you go on about what you're on about your fundraiser for Saturday?
Right. Okay. Can't remember where I was now. Right. So we're walking from Brecon to Cwmbran. My best guess is it's about 38 miles. Most certainly going to take us more than 12 hours. I did see the fundraiser pop up across the bottom. It's doing all right as it is at the moment, but again, you know, they need more. They need more. Don't be embarrassed to chuck some in. What else can I say? I don't know what I've said and what I haven't already now, Phil.
Right. So Shaun is a guy who's into fundraisers. He actually did a fundraiser, 5-mile crawl on his hands and knees in a field to raise funds for a PTSD camp. Yeah, bullshit.
Bullshit, honestly, Phil. It was great fun and it was fucking freezing.
That's some going that is, mind.
It was tough. I'll tell you what, I'd much rather do your walk than that again, I tell you.
I would much rather do my walk than crawl in a field. I mean, 5 miles, that's quite extreme as well. A couple of laps would be pretty painful, I can imagine.
Well, the funny thing was we had veterans there on the day, and I don't think any of them managed more than 1 lap. So my 14 laps was quite an achievement, I'd say.
Yeah, fair dues. Yeah.
Yeah, I only missed 1 lap, but I was walking.
You was my cameraman, honestly, Phil. You went beyond your duty that day. You were wonderful. I remember when I had the crazy idea, and I got on to you. I said, Phil, I'm going to need a cameraman for the whole day. Not a problem. You were there. We even bunked up, didn't we, the night before and the night of it. Shared the cabin, didn't we? And yeah, it was very successful. Yeah, you know, we got what we wanted. It's always nice to get more, but we got the shower block, which then was destroyed by the terrorist squad. But we won't say much about that. You know, and it was a successful day, but it was bloody hard on the body. And I was just pleased that I managed to do it, because I promised 5 miles and I wasn't going to give in until I'd got that 5 miles done. Even though I think I said to someone after 7 laps, I'm hitting the wall here. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to carry on. But then it was a fact that after 10 laps, I had people join me for the last 4 laps. You know, different people got down on their hands and knees, and that pushed me over the line. And it was a success. And maybe one day I might do something similar again, as mad, you know, according to. You know, circumstances and time, of course, because I'm a very busy man these days. So you know, I don't have much free time really.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's time, isn't it? This year in September, I would have liked to have done a north to south walk, but my whole September was taken up basically. I think it's the wrong time to do it after September.
Yeah, it's cold, mate, and especially the further north you go, you get into them mountainous regions up in Wales.
Yeah.
Even by us, it's very sort of hilly, we'll say.
Yeah.
You know, I'm on the border of Wales, in a sense, down in mid Wales. And I know up north, which is where me daughter-in-law is, it's very mountainous up there, we'll say, and you know, it takes some doing getting up and down them bloody hills.
Yes. Yeah, it would have been. I would have done Offers Dyke, which is up over the Shropshire Hills and stuff as well.
On our town is called Town on the Dyke, and we've got an Offers Dyke. We've got the Offers Dyke Centre right in the middle of our town, and that is our main tourism. Is the Offers Dyke path, which goes right through our town. So
177 miles.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we live. Sort of probably halfway, you know, from north to south.
Right.
And it's their main basic tourism attraction is the Offers Dyke path. And we get thousands of walkers every single year stopping in town for a night, you know, and popping into the centre before they go off either north or south. And it's supposed to be a very nice walk. Yeah. I get to eat bits of it every single day, so I'm lucky.
Well, hopefully I'll be passing through your town sometime early next year.
Well, Daz, I'll say, mate, if you, especially if it's early in the year, if you do that, I'll gladly come and join you on the path for a while, mate. It'll be a pleasure to come. You know, I could probably manage 10 or 12 miles with you. I mean, I did one with a veteran, I think it was last year before, where he was walking, again, to Brecon this time, rather than from Brecon. And I joined him for the last 7 or 8 miles and filmed the last 7 or 8 miles into Brecon. And I'll gladly join you, brother. Not a problem. It'll be a pleasure. I'm not saying I'll do the 177 miles, but I'd spend at least a day with you.
Yeah.
So you can arrange that. You know.
Yeah.
And let me know.
I think if I do it early on, it's probably going to be around March time.
Yeah, that's probably the best time. March, April, May time.
If not,
it's not too
I'll
hot.
leave it till September again. Well,
you could do that, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. That's it. See how life treats me, isn't it?
Well, how's it treating us all so far? You know, every day is a bonus, isn't it? At the moment, you don't know what they're going to do.
Phil, is my mic sounding okay?
I think it's Shaun's mobile phone.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, I'm in the car. I'm in the hills, obviously, and of course it's pea soup fog at the moment where I am. I had a right job driving back up here tonight. I couldn't see shit for the last 5 miles, and it was quite hairy, I'll say.
Yeah, I took the dog up the mountain earlier, and I couldn't see very far.
Yeah, well, I'm 900 foot above sea level where in my hill dwelling.
Right.
So, being so high up, and of course we've got lots of, we get the hill fog, but we also get the river fog as well, because we got quite a few rivers within, close distance to us. So this time of year, it's always very foggy, but the last 2 days, it's been awful. I
Yeah,
mean,
same here.
I was in Welshpool today, and I was wanting to get away from there before it was pitch black because, and coming home from there, it was foggy on certain parts. So I was glad to get home in one piece, we'll say.
Yeah, this is our second day of fog here.
Yeah.
Not so low today as what it was yesterday, but yesterday we just in it all day.
Yeah, it's like that here. I mean, what'll happen here is it rises. So if you get down to the village,
Yeah,
it's clear, like. But of course, once you get so far up the hill, then I can't even see 20 yards in front of me at the moment. We're outside, and but I like it like that because it makes me feel like I'm the only man on the planet, like, because we're up in the hill. It's very sparsely populated anyway, and of
yeah,
course this time of year nobody seems to want to go out, like. So I get the lanes and the fields to myself, which is quite cool, and I do
yeah,
feel like there's nobody else here, like, it's great. It's nice
yeah.
to get away from people, really.
I like that. I like to tuck myself away and be invisible for 5 minutes here and there.
Well, that's me, mate. I've always done it since I was a kid. I prefer to be tucked away on my own rather than a people person, which the guys who know me wouldn't believe that because the way I am. But yeah, I'm more comfortable on my Todd than I ever am in crowds of people and that. Like, so I've always been like that. So what's that, Nancy?
Yeah.
What's Nancy say? Let's see if I can read it. I can't really. I'm sorry. I've got a 4 or 5 inch screen, and I can't really see the comments. Can you see Nancy's comment, Phil?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's going on about making it up to 62,000 this week so far, the fundraiser. So,
Oh, is that
does somebody
how
want
much
to?
the girls have raised that for? 62.
Yeah, 62. They've
Nice.
well, I'm saying they only got 38 to go, but it's gonna
It's
cost
a
a
lot
lot
more
more than that because you got the
they've
appeal
done
as
well
well.
to get that far. Now, I didn't hear what had happened in the 2-day court case, Phil. How did that go? Because I followed as much as I could on the day with your lives and that, but I didn't get to hear how the actual 2 days went in the court. So you couldn't fill me in on that, could you, Phil?
Yeah, Darren's probably the best person to fill you in because he was actually in the courtroom for the 2 days.
Oh, it's the
Right.
court. Nice.
Right.
What-
So, go on.
Go on,
Yeah,
Darren.
go on.
Say
Go,
something.
fill
Right.
me in.
Okay. Right. So, the schedule was on the first day, Paul, the claimant's barrister, he would set his case out until 3 o'clock, and then their barrister would have the final hour, and then the whole day until 3 o'clock the next day, and Paul would finish with the final hour.
Right.
Paul went over about 10 minutes. Outstanding. He did well, in all fairness. He's evidently good at his job. So the first day in particular, when the defendant's barrister, was it Mr. Moffat? Sorry, I'm terrible with names. Was it Mr. Moffat, the barrister for the defense?
No idea. No idea.
Anyway, he spent his time on the first day not defending the fact that they had taken away parental rights over their children, but arguing we've never had any. I mean, obviously we've had, well, yeah, I mean, we've had the sex education opt-out and the religious education opt-out in legislation.
Yeah,
So,
I opted to school from RV. I was the only one in the whole school who totally refused to do RE, religious education.
yeah.
And that was in the late 70s, early 80s. And I actually did a deal with a school where I used to have to turn up for the lesson to show I was in school, and then they'd send me to the library. And I got to get to the library and read whatever I wanted while the others had the old religious stuff down the front. And as long as I turned up 5 minutes before the end of the lesson to say, yes, nice one, I've been here, it was fine. And I did that for 3 years.
Yeah,
I was the only one in the school who refused to do religious education.
well, that's been in legislation since 1944. The religious opt-out. The sex ed opt-out has been 93, I believe, off the top of my head. But obviously, there's legislative rights. What he was saying was there's no common law right. There's no right rooted back through the history of law where parents have had any education rights over their children. That he's just saying they don't exist, and he so that, and then the following day, to some degree, I can only describe it as he wove an intricate web of case law to try to demonstrate that we've never actually had these rights. They were legislative privileges. Even if they did, and then obviously went on, even if these rights did exist and the government are wrong, then they haven't done anything wrong in taking them away from us. It's quite fine. And the way they did it, which was an argument of the claimant, one of the arguments of the claimant, was how they took away this right. Hence the principle of legality. And they argued that they've done everything right, and so on. Paul's final hour. So there was some instruction given by him and Co to Paul in the final moment, basically lunchtime. So it was the last time they had a chance to see him before the final hour, basically. And Kim, rightly so, was adamant that Paul point out the evidence which was in the case file regarding the misinformation, and that I mean, a big portion, the witness statements in particular, all the witness statements on the claimant side were pointing out the fact that it is a global rollout, something which the government has accused PCP of as being misinformation for a long time, and it's there in black and white. And as we're all aware, they've got a mouthpiece, the media, to sort of deceive people with these things. But it was brought up and pointed out in court. I mean, there was never, the barrister uttered the words that it's misinformation and developmentally appropriate, which was another thing which was brought up by Paul as part of the case, was the fact that there are no tools to assess developmentally appropriate.
Well, every child is different, isn't they? It's exactly, a simple fact. Each child grows up, a different level, don't they? Some are mature at 14, some are 18, 19. Some are even younger than that. So,
I would say as well, in the majority of instances, those teachers who have been made responsible for making this assessment now, they don't know the background. They don't know what's happened into these kids in the background. There could be some real dodgy shit going on, which makes it all developmentally inappropriate. But and then they all mutter the words code and guidance, but you look at the code and it's not developmentally appropriate. Even if they were tools, it's set out in ages. I'm not sure if you've actually looked at it. So we've got 3 to 6, 7 to 10.
I've seen a lot of it, Darren. I closely watch every bit of it, behind the scenes. I know pretty much the basics of it, but I hadn't heard how the court case had gone on, for some reason.
So basically, Paul did his thing. very, very well, in my opinion. And it was, you know, I said this just after the court case, still true to this day. It was like being in a film. There was a round of applause at the end, and you know, they're not overly fussed on noise and stuff in court, you know, to some degree. And if it's repeated, it can be seen as a contempt of court, which is an offence. You know, but there were a few mutterings and cheers as time progressed towards the end. Paul brought certain things into the case, and it was met with yays and, you know, little ones in the background, nothing too much. But then at the end, as the judge announced that she had finished, it was just a mass round of applause. The public gallery, it just a unanimous round of applause, basically. You know, it's kind of not the sort of thing you see in a courtroom. Do you know what I mean? So, and then obviously,
well, I don't, mate. I don't spend time in courts, mate. Last time I was in court was 40 years ago. So,
well, I can assure you, it's not something you see in court very often.
Yeah, I keep away from them places.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's a good thing to do. They're dark places. It's not a nice atmosphere in them. You know what I mean? It's not nice to go there by choice, that's for sure. But it Paul's exit then outside. He was like a film star.
I watched that. I watched him coming out the court. You know, it was probably on Phil's Live, actually.
Yeah,
I think I just finished work as they were coming out of court and managed to catch him, you know.
Well, I think if you've seen that video, that reaction kind of encapsulates the court case from Paul's point of view. He did a good job, fair dues to him.
Yeah, I'll show it now.
So that's Paul, our barrister.
Yeah, for some reason it won't play, lads.
It was good to be there. It was an amazing atmosphere. It really was good. Yeah, it'll be one of those memorable occasions, I think, which will stay with me for a long, long time, probably forever.
With this case being sort of heard now in the court, what is the next stage now? When are the girls expecting a reply back from the enemy, we'll say?
Yeah, so Paul seems to think it would be about 6 weeks. So from the 15th and the 16th for the hearing date, so 6 weeks would put us pretty much smack on Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, it's only an assumption, but you know, it could go either way, I guess, by a week or two.
Now talk of an appeal either way, isn't there? Whatever happens.
Yeah, again, you know, Kim and Co, as far as I'm aware at this point, are adamant if they lose, there will be an appeal. And I think it's one of those cases which probably needs to go all the way. And then that decision is set in stone, you know what I mean, at the highest level, whether or not it will. So obviously Kim and Co have said that they would appeal or will appeal if it doesn't turn out in their favour. And in all fairness, I can't see the government backing down either. And they're not risking anything. They're just spending our money on it, you know. There's no risk to them other than egg on your face. So you know, they just might as well appeal anyway, regardless.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
You know, so
I mean, my thing has been with this. I mean, I've got no children, I've got no grandchildren, but obviously I've been supporting the girls since day one. And obviously, when the fundraising started, I've put a couple of lots of funds in as and when I can, you know, nice and quietly. I don't advertise that. And, you my issue has been, and I've been talking to parents in our local town about it, and they don't seem to know about it, which is the one thing. And like I was saying to a couple of the guys last week, like I said, I've got no kids, I've got no grandkids, so it doesn't affect me as such. But
Exactly.
every parent in Wales should have put at least £1 in the pot. And like the girl said, it would have equated to helping 6 potential children from this paedophile's bloody thingy. As far as I can see, this is a paedophile's gateway, which they're pushing on the kids. And my friends have all got kids, and yet I don't know if any of them has voiced opinions to the schools about it, or put any money in the pot and that. And I said to my mate last week, it would not hurt all you guys to get together and get some money to them girls, because what they're doing for you is absolutely amazing, and they really should be getting the support of every single parent in the whole country. And it makes no sense to me why they're not.
Well, I agree with you totally. Again, in my personal opinion, so they're without a doubt, there's a large bunch of people who it would appear don't care. Now, whether that don't care attitude is because they're uninformed, or worse, are informed and still don't care. So that's an issue there. But there is such a big battle, as I'm sure you were aware. They face such a battle with the ban, the shadow banning, the lack of media.
Saturday, I've been on a ban now where I'm restricted on fascist book. They've actually taken my YouTube channel down in the last 2 weeks. Herbal medicine, and it's gone. They've removed it. Yeah. And I've been on now a ban for 12 months on Saturday. The 3rd of December last year is when they started restricting me seriously, and it's 12 months later, and I'm still on it. They took me off it last week for 2 hours, and then they slapped me straight back on it again.
As they do.
Unbelievable. So I know what that's like, brother.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not me personally. I'm not on any social media, to be honest.
I don't blame you, mate. I would be if I didn't. If I could do what I've been doing for the last 6 years without the internet, I would piss it off.
Oh, I've got the internet.
Got the internet to start this campaign, what I've been doing since 2016. And that's the only reason I ever went on the internet. And I am dying to get off it and just disappear. But I've still got a job to do, so I can't. I've got to do what I've got to do for the cause in general. So it's a devil that I've got to put up with, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I got the internet. I mean, as a research tool, is priceless.
Yeah, it really helps with the herbal remedies I do. The amount of information I can get just at a touch of a button, and it takes seconds. Whatever question I asked it, I get the knowledge then straight through to me, and it's a great tool for that side of things. Not so good if you're a truther and you're considered on the right side of the political fence, which I've never classed myself left, right, or anything, because I've never been political. Yeah. Except for Brexit, of course, which is what I joined the fight for initially, to fight for Brexit. But yeah, it's a great tool for some things. But then for this kind of thing, it isn't a tool. It's a hindrance, isn't it? And they restrict it.
When you look at the younger generation now, it is part of their life. It's not something that they use anymore. It's part of their life. So yeah, I'm of that age where I can come and go off it. I was quite active on Facebook, particularly a few years ago, before the cult or cults of people. I was quite vocal on there at one point, but you know, I wasted a lot of life arguing with people. So I weaned myself off the addiction, went cold turkey, and I don't bother anymore. I mean, Catherine's my partner, my better half. When she's allowed on there, she's you know, quite vocal on Facebook.
I do a lot of like sharing of stuff from around the world, obviously. Like, you know, I connected with all the freedom fighters, those who love the truth as well, obviously. And I do a lot of that, which gets me in trouble. But with my social media now is all to do with me, the herbal remedies, and you know, trying to take care of your health and treat ailments and conditions which otherwise you'd run to the GP for. So obviously that upsets them when you put that I'm a Brexit fighter, that I've you know, and I've supported things like the PCP and all these other issues and that, and then you add the herbal medicine into it. I'm one of the most restricted people I know these days, and I wear it as a badge of honor, actually. But it means that I don't have to spend so much time online now, because they make it so hard for me that I can get on with things in the background, which is nice to be able to do, because when you're sat at the screen, you can't actually get on with things, you know, you need to do. I mean, I built up my own pharmacy in the last 14, 16 months. And of course, that takes a lot of doing. And, you know, I'm adding to it every single day. And of course, I can't do that if I'm online. So you know, it does have its advantages, being one of the, you know, the enemies of the old elite. So I don't worry about it these days.
And again, you know, being restricted, it means you're doing something right.
Well, that's definitely a fact, isn't it? I mean, I get fact checked nearly every day, and when I go and have a look at what they fact checked me and what the video was or something, it's usually a video from someone around the world, and 99.9% of the time, it's actually come from what they would call good sources, either the government or you know, a certain department or a media outlet, and then I think, you know, you're fact checking this, but it's come from your guys, you know, and it makes me laugh, it does. And occasionally I'll go and have a blitz on the fact checkers, and I'll go and block about 500 of them at a time, but it's a pointless task, because they're robots, aren't they? And there's millions of the fuckers. And, you know, you get rid of 10 and another 100 pop up. So I just ignore them now. But whatever you say, I know the facts. And, you know, most of us guys who are doing, we know what we're right and that. So, again, I laugh it off and say to the missus, look, they fucking fact checked me then, or they've restricted me again. What the fuck? You know, it's come from the government, or it's come from this minister, or it's come from this, you know, and it just makes me laugh. It really does. Pathetic. It's like playground stuff.
But they kind of broke their own monopoly. You know, going back a good handful of years ago, it was Facebook and Twitter. You know, I'm sure I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but they were the two biggest. The other ones, and they're still small in comparison, but they were fiddly little farty things in the background. And all the censorship and all the culling. I mean, that's grown Rumble to, and you know, it's a lot. They've grown it substantially. You know, it's still not as big as YouTube, for example. But it's still grown, and you know, there's these other ones now as well. I can't name them all, but I know some of them have got masses of people on them, which flocked over. Telegram, isn't there?
Yeah, I haven't done Telegram.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not on any of them. I've never been on them.
I got rid of Telegram about a couple of months ago. I just deleted it. To be fair, the only two I've got and I have anything to do with is YouTube and Fascist Book. And people say, Shaun, you need to get on Getter, you need to get on Rumble, you need to get on this and that. And I haven't got the time. And because of the way I do my internet, in which I do live feeds. And I've always been a live feeder. So, you know, whether it was reporting in London or around the country, which is now what Phil does, that's what I did for the first 3 or 4 years. And then, of course, I moved into the herbal remedies, where I actually do the remedies on a live feed and show people, tell them what they're good for, how to make them, and you know, and the prepping of the ingredients and all that. So I find with the other sort of social media, you can't do the live feeds like you can on Fascist Book. And I'm not willing to change my ways, the way I've done it. It's how people like to interact with me, how I've always done it, and I'm stuck in my ways. I'm an old fucker, and I'm not willing to change and modernise, we'll say. So I just put up with it, and I only do the odd one now. I you know, it used to be one a week. Now you're lucky to see me once a month, like.
Yeah, I like to hide in the shadows.
What do you think?
Done in the shadows, brother, tell you.
What do you two think about this? Right, I've kind of muted you for a second. I'll just show you this for a second, and I'll mute you now. So, what are your thoughts on this, then?
What is it?
Scientists warn long frozen zombie virus is public health threat amid thaw. This is from the New York Post, but it's appeared in a few British papers as well. They think they found a zombie virus.
Right. Who were you asking?
Yeah, I'll tell you what the zombie virus is. It's those that wear masks, stand 6 feet apart from people, and fucking gone and got 5 or 6 jabs. I don't know how many it is these days. I've lost fucking count.
And I personally don't believe that viruses exist.
Well, no, because a virus is the body's way of defending and getting rid of rubbish out your body. So detoxification.
What they say a virus is exosomes. It's the waste product of us clearing our toxins.
Exactly, yeah. So if you look at that, you know, we know that the viruses are a scam. Well, we knew that anyway. We've seen the patents from 2015.
Yeah, they don't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and again, it's one of these little things where, if you look at the science behind it, they've not ever cross-contaminated anybody with any so-called virus, despite their trying. So yeah, I'm out on this one. There's no such thing as viruses. So whatever they found in there is not a virus. Don't know what it is, but it ain't a virus. So
it's probably a bacteria. It'll be a bacterial infection, if anything.
Yeah. But what they'll probably do now is make some virus, make something which they will call a virus, some disease, call it a virus, and then sell us a cure.
Well, yeah, they'll give the cure away to start with, brother, and then they'll sell it, yeah. Like the mask.
I mean, we're not paying for it, but we did pay for it. They sold it to our government who take it off.
Well, billions. Probably trillions, actually.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And now we're suffering for it. Look at the economy.
Well, yeah, it's tragic. I mean, I've been very sensible in the last couple of months. What I've been doing, especially the last couple of months, I've been emptying my bank every week, because when they crash the banks, you're only going to get 1% of your funds back, and they're going to push a social credit system on you in as a sort of you know, as we're sorry you've lost all your cash, but we're willing to give you this if you do this. Digital currency, digital ID and all that bullshit, which they can shove that up their asses. And what I've been doing, I've been buying commodities, and so I take my cash out the bank every week, and then every couple of weeks I go and buy myself what's a real commodities, and I took it away. So, and on the thing that some of us guys are even starting thinking about our own currency and dealing with each other with our own currency, which will be backed, of course, with a real commodity rather than the fiat currency, which is basically they write on a piece of paper how much they want. A Bank of England presses a button, and there it is. And then they start charging your interest on it. It's ridiculous, but it's just crazy, and I can't see how they can carry on doing it much longer before the whole system crashes.
I believe that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing that in real life now. It's unfolding. But again, right, as long as I've been in this game, the one thing I've kept my eye on is the economy collapsing. The new depression, the dollar collapse, in effect, is what's been promised for X amount of years. So, on average, we have a financial collapse every 7 years. This one's way overdue. What was it, 2008, 2009, the last one?
2008, yeah, the last one.
So before that was 2001 and so on. So it's on average every 7 years. This one we're already doubly overdue and that's in my opinion, it was ready to collapse a long time ago, and they've just been propping it up and propping it up and propping it up, and that's how we've got this far.
Well, that's why we're at record debt levels in the UK of currently 2.5 trillion. And probably adding 10, 15 billion every day to that. It's obvious.
Sorry, if you put the UK debt clock on, and there's one for every country, the UK debt clock, last time I checked, it was something like £5,000 a second is going up.
It's 90, something like 97.5% of the gross earnings of a UK.
I think
on a yearly basis. So the 97% is servicing the debts, which it's ridiculous. Like, you can't run a country like that. You can't run a business like that, because that's what it is. It's a business. If I run my business like that, I would have probably been locked up. Years ago. It's ridiculous.
That's the thing with fiat currency, though. It's a mathematical certainty that it will collapse at some point. They've always known. It's kind of it's not a long-term forever measure. They tend to collapse. But everything I see now is the economy collapsing. Everything. It's in real life. All of these things that I followed and watched for 10, 12, 13 years. They're happening right now, right in front of our eyes. I don't think there's any coming back from this one, to be honest. We're on that downward slope, in my opinion. And God, just be prepared. I think. I think a lot of people don't believe it can happen. And even again, with the dollar going down, it sounds like such a ridiculous thing. The dollar going down, the global currency, but it happens roughly every 50 years. Before the dollar, I believe it was sterling. Before sterling, it was either the guilder or the French franc. It's another one of those cyclical things which happens.
That's the way, isn't it? That's all. I'm opinion, brother. I can't.
So again, the dollar is overdue based on averages from history. Well overdue. So not only have we got our 7-year financial collapse, we're on about 14 years now, and I think. Whereas it's normally about 7, and then the dollar, like say, I believe it's every 50 years, and 30 odd, was it? The dollar took over as the reserve currency. Was it this? It would have been before. Yeah, it would have been.
No idea, mate. I
The petrodollar is when the 1933, wasn't it? When they took it off the gold standard and made it the petrodollar. I'm guessing it's been the reserve currency since at least then. So that's well over 50 years, even if it started in 1933.
Yeah.
So again, well overdue. Yeah, hold on to your hats. Stockpile a bit of food. It's going to be short. Definitely, you know, just a couple of extra tins when you go shopping and stuff like that, you know, dried stuff, chuck it in your cupboard, forget about it, because, you know, if I'm wrong, awesome. But I think we might be needing it. And if nothing else, we're beating inflation. If by doing that, if nothing else, we're beating inflation. We're buying it at a cheaper price than most certainly was going to be in 6 months or a year. So it's a good thing to do if you can do it. Just we've been doing a lot of that.
We've been doing a lot of that, Darren. We started up a few groups in the last 12 months. Prepping, foraging, veggie gangs growing their own. We've got masses of people growing their own food, and we've been tucking away food and other stuff as well, prepping for off grid for well over 12 months now. Me personally on the food side the last 2 years, and and again with the currency situation, I've been stocking up on real commodities, and I'm adding to them every week. So at least I've got some a proper sort of value to it, we'll say, rather than a piece of paper, which is probably going to end up like Zimbabwe, and where they were spending like a loaf for bread was a wheelbarrow full of notes, you know, and other countries as well. Venezuela was another one.
Same thing in Germany, where half a pound of butter was a week's wages. It was cheaper to wallpaper your wall with money than buy wallpaper. We've had it recently you know, within the last however many years. Argentina, we've had similar kind of thing. Their money totally collapsed. They resorted to bartering. What's the Venezuela is in most recently? They were eating the zoo animals because they were so hungry.
Venezuela was one,
you know.
Sri Lanka as well. I think Sri Lanka.
Sorry, I didn't hear any of that again.
Yeah, Shaun keeps on breaking up. He does.
Yeah, it's you know, it's good.
Did you say we were up in the mountains?
Yeah, my internet signal is terrible, mate. Yeah. I'm lucky to get one bar at the moment where I am.
Yeah, when you're up in the mountains.
I'm in the hills, mate. You've got the mountain. Well, the mountains are up north. There ain't no mountains south of bloody Carmarthen.
Yeah, my point is the satellites.
I'm in the hills. I'm on top of the hill, actually. I'm basically on top of the hill, but you know, I've got over the hill.
Yeah, so
exactly.
Anyway,
yeah. So I do have a trouble up here getting a signal. It's just how it is. I quite like that, actually. It means if I can't get a signal, they can't get a signal to know where I am.
I haven't got a phone, so they don't know where I am when I'm out and about. You know, I don't even know what the time is when I'm out. I got no phone and no watch. So yeah,
nice. I wish I could live my life right now.
It's getting more and more difficult, to be honest. The phone thing's not such an issue because I've got Catherine, so people can get hold of me if need be through Catherine. But there has to be a third party involved. But more and more stuff now is becoming only accessible digitally, including the money. You know, so there are certain places which are now not accepting cash. So yeah, you know, the not having a phone thing is becoming a little bit more difficult to some degree, but I think I've probably been about 5 or 6 years now without a phone, so I'm actually quite used to it. And you know, I'm quite a minimalist in the latter part of my life. I've got no belongings as such. Do you know what I mean? I walk around in the same stinky clothes most of the time. so I don't need the things that they're enticing me with that phone. Do you know what I mean? So the temptations, I'm still nowhere near being tempted to go back to having a phone. I'm all right. I'm happy and I'm content without one until it's forced upon us.
All right. I'm going to say goodbye to Shaun for a minute because
Well,
Shaun, you think
if you can sort of carry on with your life without it, it's a great idea.
all right. Thanks, Shaun, for jumping on, mate. Perhaps we can get you when you're back in the house some other time. I'll bring you back onto the show, mate. Do you get that?
No worries, mate. It's been
All
a
right.
pleasure anyway. Nice to meet you, Darren.
Yeah, and I'm sure.
Good luck on your.
Yeah, right, he's gone. If he's listening, I would enjoy a chat with him about his herbal remedies and stuff. I'm a keen forager myself. So yeah, we'll catch up again sometime.
Yeah, it's the feedback has been going on for about an hour now, mate. And
yeah, I could hear it in my head. That's why I asked if my mic was okay. I thought it was me because I could just hear it. I could hear myself.
It's fine
echoing.
now. It's fine now. It's because his mobile phone and the signal's rubbish. So I couldn't really help it. Like, I mean, Shaun's an amazing guy. Like, I mean, I would have liked him on when he was in the house or something because the signal seems to be better there. But
yeah, I think I could probably talk for a few hours with him, no problem.
Oh, mate, he's such knowledgeable. He's unbelievable.
He seems it. Yeah.
The reason why I got into filming is because it was a Brexit march in London, and I got off the bus. I just lit up a fag, and Shaun and somebody called Gallows, awesome guy as well, they asked me for a light, and I was down there for 2 days, and they turned around and Shaun says, I do a bit of filming. He knew you could tell I was on my own, like, to me, and I was down for a couple of. He said, "Do you want to come around with me and Gallows, like, to me?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem." And then obviously I got hooked. I got hooked on filming, then, didn't I? And doing lives and stuff. It was because of Shaun. It was like, to me.
Right. Okay.
But such an amazing guy, really, like, to me. He used to do all the demos all around the country, but now he's more into the herbal side of it. He knows his common law. He knows his common law as well.
It's a good way to go. I kind of did the same thing, to be honest. You know, my route there was all the way through the rabbit hole. You know, I seen some dark stuff or whatever, but I've come through the other. I personally came through the other side, on the spiritual side of it, to be honest, and that was my. That's the light, that's the savior from all the dark stuff that you had to see. And things, you know, I've always been an outdoorsy person anyway, but things like just nature generally, being outdoors, the herbs, the natural foods, real food, all of these things kind of came together. It's made me a better person, I believe. I'm still practicing on improving myself all the time. Do you know what I mean? But I believe we're on a spiritual journey. I think I'm a spiritual being having a human experience in this little meat suit. As awesome as this little meat suit is, it's a fantastic machine. But you know, I'm not. You know, I'm something else, I believe. And this is my journey, and it was this journey which popped me out on the other side. I wouldn't be believing these spiritual things prior to becoming a conspiracy theorist, basically waking up.
Let's get this right, truth teller.
Well, I to the normies, I'm a conspiracy theorist. You know, whatever. It's just a word. You know, they might use it to take the piss out of me, but I'm not offended. I've been called a lot worse. Do you know what I mean? So just give it to you, you know. But yeah, you know, I actually know the definition of conspiracy theorist. So yeah, I don't mind. You know, people have, like I say, they've called me a lot worse, and I'm sure they will call me a lot worse in the future. I'm far from perfect. Do you know what I mean? But I'm practicing. You know, I do my best. I try to improve myself. I'm cleaning myself out as I get older and older. I want to live forever. So, you know, I'm off the tea and the coffee. I've stopped the fags. Do you know what I mean? The next one's to try. I'm going to give it till after Christmas, but I really seriously considering cutting out added sugar. It's just poison, man. It's not good, and that's so. I don't know. Am I rambling on? Am I going way off topic for you?
No,
Right.
no.
Here
Shall
we
we
go
just
then.
shall we shock a few people with this? This was in a paper this week. This was.
Right, go on.
Hang on, let's get rid of that bottom bit. Let's get rid of that banner. And get rid of that comment. There you go. Scotland to let pupils age 4 change gender. Now, my view, Da, they should have believed us, shouldn't they? That this was going to happen.
I mean, two things popped into my head when that came up. Then one of them was obviously my opinion on it, but the other side of it was Kim and Co have been showing PCP material, and in fact, I mean, Catherine. I'm sure everybody knows who Catherine is in relation to me.
Catherine Watkins. Folks.
Yes,
no, she's not my
I
sister.
mean, she digs deep in her research. You know, I've got some books. Catherine, I mean, she reads books, and give credit. There is subject matter which I don't want to touch anymore in detail. And you know, Catherine on, you know, on one side, and again, you know, the PCP lot, they've been showing this for quite some time now. And yet, when you put that article up, when did you say that article came out?
Well, I think it was sometime this week. But
right. So again, I assumed it was quite new, and therefore, look how slow they are catching up. And the Daily Mail, I find, they're online articles. I find they can be quite touchy of these sensitive subjects. You know, I often come across a Daily Mail article. I'm like, oh, that's quite good for our, you know, the truth side of things. But again, it just demonstrates how far forward Kim and Co are with their research, and how far behind the mainstream media. You know, they're supposed to be investigative. Is that right? Journalists.
Yeah, that's right.
They do know investigations. They're supposed to be our guardians from the government. They're supposed to be protecting us from tyranny and whatever else, and they're actually the mouthpieces for them. They're pushing that. They don't, you know, and anything which is even reasonably close to the truth, it's always got a slant on it, but it's always like millions away down the page, and it's never a main story. So even when they do touch on reporting on some of the more serious issues, it's not in your face like whatever color trousers someone famous had on, or you know what I mean, how much some of these earrings cost in Hollywood. You know, that's front page news these days, but the real stuff ends up a little column chucked in the back of a newspaper or a website somewhere. So yeah, again, you know, when I see things like that, hats off to Kim. You know, she was putting this stuff out a couple of years ago.
Dad, what are your thoughts on teachers teaching this sort of stuff, like from the ages of 3? What are your thoughts?
I mean,
What do you think
again,
of the teachers, Dad?
I just think they're
That
nodding
want to,
dogs. No, they're just nodding dogs. This has been demonstrated, factually demonstrated, in my opinion, by the responses which parents have had back from teachers and head teachers. My experience shows me, factually, I can show you documents and prove this is the case. They just spout that misinformation narrative, right? So we've got legal implications here. Teachers, when they've got your kids, they're in a state of loco parentis, as it's called legally. It's a bit more complex as the law has gone on, but fundamentally, what loco parentis is, for people who don't know, that teacher obtains the responsibility of that child that the parent would have if the parent was taking charge of that child. I mean, specific points of that law have been challenged and won and lost throughout court cases, but fundamentally, that teacher is responsible for the safety and well-being of your child while your child is in their custody, legally and lawfully.
yeah, Dad.
Now, the fact that they couldn't read just one paragraph of a single document, which I know they have been sent by at least Kim and Adele on multiple occasions, a lot of teachers, a lot of heads, councillors, right, local representatives, school governors, these have all been sent these documents, right? And they're supposed to be intelligent people, intelligent enough to educate our children, right? And they're supposed to be in a legal state of loco parentis, and we're telling them this could be dangerous, and they don't even bother to read a single paragraph on a single document. They didn't even have to find it. The link was sent to them, right? They just had to click a button. That's how easy it is. And they all failed. They all failed. Well, I don't trust you with my kid. Thank you very much. If that's how where your responsibilities are, just nodding what the government says without even reading a single paragraph, you're not fit to be responsible for children, in my opinion.
I was outside a library in Penarth, and I'm going to show you. It's only 40 seconds long. This is a teacher now speaking to me regarding the literature which they're going to be reading to young children in schools. I'll show you the video now.
It's okay to normalise it because there are people like me that have gone through a hard time.
It's not to 2 and 3 year olds. Do you know what's coming into our schools from September? 5 year olds. 5 year olds will be able to choose their gender. Now, most 5 year olds get most 5 year olds.
I'm a teacher.
Yeah, exactly. That's
exactly.
You're the one who's going to be teaching it.
Yeah,
so if you see this, folks,
then it is okay to be gay.
if you see this, folks, not at 5 years of age.
Please don't film me.
Not at 5 years of age. There you go, folks.
If you were filming this, I want that removed.
No, sorry. It's a public place. It's a public place.
Who does this guy work for? Because
I'm an independent journalist. Independent journalist.
Right, but I think you really need
go.
to reevaluate yourself. It's okay to
It's not-
normalise it because
it's
there are
not.
people like me that have gone through a hard.
I don't know if you got that. That is.
Yeah, no, I did get that. Right, everybody is entitled to their own opinion. You're welcome to it. It's your opinion. You know, I'm about as opinionated as they come, and you know, nobody has to agree with me. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Now, my argument on this is, and again, you know, they write when I say they, that you know, the government and so on. So yeah, you know, you read through the code and the guidance, and you know, on the outset, it all looks fluffy and nice, and you know, you can just go through it, and yes, the intentions are good, but the way I see it, so I've got a daughter. From day one, it doesn't matter, right? And I never did, but from day one, they're her private parts and nobody goes near them. Not even me, right? They're your private. It doesn't matter if I call them by the dictionary name or whether I call it by a, you know, if I call it a fanny or a fufu or a tuppence or what. It's utterly irrelevant. It's utterly irrelevant, right? If I call it her private parts and says no one touches it, or if I teach her that it's called a vulva and not a tuppence, will not stop her getting abused. Right? That I do not see how that could logically prevent. I believe that kids, we've had a breakdown of society, so in some instances that, you know, there are parents who are at fault. Your kids should be already seeing from their environment that we love and respect. I don't mean love in a, you know, a sex. You know, we love and respect everybody around us. We don't have to agree with everybody, and we don't actually have to like somebody, but we respect them for what. Do you know what I mean? My daughter knew that. She doesn't need that to be taught to her through geography and maths and English and so on and all the other. Do you know what I mean? They fluffy it up by saying it's about teaching them friendship and how everybody. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's great, but that should have already been the fundamental core of being in school. How to be nice to your peers and to your teachers and your parents and people you meet in the street. That's the core of humanity, in my opinion. You know, it doesn't need a standalone lesson. And then once you start getting into this, you know, the sex side of it, and the sexuality side of it, in my opinion, they are most certainly too young. I can't find any rational reason to justify it, in my personal opinion. Yeah, there's no need. This is pushing the boundary. I'm also, my opinion is also biased, greatly biased, because I've done a bit of the research. There are direct links from this curriculum back to Kinsey. There's a chain of custody. We can trace it. It's not fictional. It is very, very real. And the chain of custody is that, I mean, you only have to include 3 or 4 documents, even the WHO document. Catherine going through it the other day, and she found another direct link to, it's more of an indirect link to Kinsey, in that I fall down with the names. But one of the people brought in to do the WHO report, she'll correct me if I'm wrong, was the director of the Kinsey Institute. At the same time, I believe, when he was doing the WHO stuff. Again, that's a new piece of information which Catherine has just recently discovered. So I'm probably misquoting the actual factual evidence here, so don't take it. But there is there's another link to Kinsey without the obvious route, which Kim and Co had pointed out a couple of years ago. And then if anybody is wondering who Kinsey is, he was a paedophile. And he hired paedophile to do work under the guise of science. And basically, it was his 2 scientific publications, Sexuality in the Human Male and then the Human Female. Oh, you are, Catherine's putting a message up on the bottom. There she goes. The Human Male, the Human Female, those 2 books formed the basis of what is now this curriculum, that children are sexual from birth. And it stems from Kinsey's work. It's trackable and traceable, documented, fully documented through history, right up to this UNESCO document, which our government, the Welsh government, used to co-construct the new curriculum which is being taught in the schools.
The Kinsey Institute is actually
still going.
still about. It's still about.
And
I don't
collecting
want to promote
information.
it. It is on Facebook. They've actually got a large following on Facebook, and yeah, it is paedophilia at its best.
Yeah, they're still collecting information. Yeah, still, and again, you know, I've done my bit of research. I'm not going to go more into Kinsey and because it's not my expertise. People like Catherine has got quite a comprehensive knowledge on it. Many of the reference books and so on. Kim's obviously got a vast knowledge on Kinsey. You know, it's not my expertise. I know enough to convince me. I followed the paper trail, and I done a little bit of Kinsey. I read the important parts of his book, which came as in hardback. Again, you know, this isn't a conspiracy theory. Kim's actually got his book in hardback. You can actually read it for yourself. But again, I'm going to slide away from this because it's not my expertise. You know, there's other people who are much deserving of talking about it than myself. So next,
yeah, I'm going to end the show. I'm going to end the show in a bit, but I'd just like to mention to everybody that the other string in your bow is your music.
Okay.
At the end of the day, folks, Darren did my intro into the show, and my normal music I normally play at the end of the show. This is Darren, one of Darren's raps. He's done quite a few now, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a few out there. Yeah.
But I always end the show with my favourite. I do that, and I keep on getting I keep on getting a warning off Facebook for copyright. How can I get a warning for copyright when I've got the man sitting opposite me now doing it? And I will get a warning. It'll be a 42 seconds.
Yeah, you said
42 seconds warning. A copyright warning. And I got the man.
I have no answers for you. I know in the past I've thrown various possible explanations out there, but I can't answer it. I do apologize. Just grin and bear it, innit? Which one's your favorite one? Is it the news one? What's it called?
I gotta see if I can find it now. Hasn't got a name to it, I don't think.
I don't know what it's called. I can find out.
It is my favorite. But first of all, before we go, hang
on a minute. What's that? Censored. Oh, censored. Catherine's just shouted to me. It's called censored.
Yeah, that's it. I want to put this up first. This is Cardiff on Saturday in Queen Street at 2 p.m. This is the same time that Darren will be progressing down the Brecon Canal. But obviously, Kim and Lashir and Adele need all your support, and Catherine and everybody. They need your support to turn up because obviously the reason is we've still got to wait for the judgment. But we still know that we're going to get an appeal, whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and again,
we need to show
it
numbers.
Was raised. Yeah, it is a numbers game. It was raised earlier. Why there's not more people, and again, it's all been shadowed and kept underground for us and hindered. The more that goes on, the bigger the audience is becoming. The bigger the audience, the more difficult it is for the government to impose their fascist dictator and rules upon us. It's a numbers game. It's all a numbers game, I believe. We just gotta spread it out there. You are going to encounter a lot of people who don't care, and again, there's a multitude of reasons why that could possibly be. But there's a lot of people who will care, but they're just not aware of it yet. And I think as we go through, as the school year rolls on now, I'm already coming across real instances where parents are kicking off now. You know, it's becoming a reality now in school. Some of them are actually experiencing this thing, and we're, you know, we just coming into December tomorrow, so it's only been a couple of months since it's been in school, and it's already affecting some people. I believe as time goes on, that's only going to grow. It'd just be nice for it to speed up. You know, it could do with growing quicker. And once we get to a certain stage, you know, that millionth monkey, everyone will know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
PCB Wales are also up to North Wales on the 10th of December. The following week, they're back to Cardiff on the 17th. And then they're going to Barry on the 18th, folks. So they've got a lot on, actually, before they get the result. But it's after Christmas and New Year, it's going to get a hell of a lot busier for that appeal, I think.
I mean, what would be nice, you know, as much as I'm pretty confident there's going to be an appeal, you know, it's not totally and utterly impossible that they could just lose and be content with that. I mean, it's highly unlikely, but, you know, it's always a possibility. It is always a possibility. But, you know, you've got to put an optimistic slant on these things. You know, it's always a possibility. Worse things have happened or better things have happened. But again, you know, if it goes all the way up, like I said earlier, if it goes all the way to the top, then it will be difficult to overturn that decision once it gets to the Supreme. It's going to need another Supreme Court and something outstandingly strong to be shown for them to even reconsider it. So if it goes to the Supreme Court, and when we get a win, if it goes that far, yeah, it's job done. But yeah, you are right. It's we got a way to go yet, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. I personally probably will go to the Supreme Court, and
I think probably
this is where we need numbers, like, Jimmy.
Exactly. You know, we can cause more disruption with more numbers. So, I mean, the Muslim community, for example, as far as I'm aware, again, you know, I might be corrected on specifics, but as far as I'm aware, they've taken like 200 of their kids out of school and they're educating them in the mosques while this stuff is going on. It would be nice if other communities, our community, grew some balls and started doing similar sorts of things. And again, if you add them numbers, you know, once that sort of thing starts happening, it forces them into a position, you know, and that doesn't always bring about the right result either. But, you know, if you can really apply the pressure and show them to the extent that it really does disrupt them, they know they've got an issue then. Do you know what I mean? It is all about the numbers. Just play an hell with them. If you're not happy, don't sit back and put up with it. Again, and without sounding sexist, because this is meant to both genders, grow some balls. Do you know what I mean? They're just people. Them on the other side who are acting like they're God. They're just people. Grow some balls and tell them. That's all we need. We just need to stand up and just tell them. You're entitled to your opinion, and just, God, you know, and I don't mean to disrupt the learning system for, you know, or anything to do with the kids or anything like that, but the more these teachers and heads are told, the more they can report back to the local councillors, you know, the LAs and whatever else, which will go further up the chain. These people are really not happy. The more letters you give and respond to, these people are really not happy, and it'll go up the chain. Do you know what I mean? We need to be heard now, peacefully, of course. Do you know what I mean? But we need to be heard. You know, everybody's got a voice. Use it. In some respects, it is in all respects, this is more important than the vote, because they fix your vote. at least with this, you're going in, you can see a real person in front of you, whether it be a teacher, the head, the counsellor, and very politely tell them how wrong it is. And you know, if that's your opinion, tell them. They need to know, basically, and stop being a noddy dog. It's not doing anyone any favours whatsoever. None whatsoever. It's making you look ridiculous. Stop nodding. Anyway, I better stop.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad, for coming on.
That's a pleasure.
I'm gonna play a rap to finish us off.
Right, thank you.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah, you're such a warrior. You and Catherine, like, I mean, you're the power couple. You are.
Well, you know,
behind the scenes, right?
We came into this fighters, so you know, just carry on the tradition in there. And again, it's one of them things. Once you're in it, you can't get out. You can't forget what you've seen. You can't forget what you've learned. There is no going back anymore. This is it till I die, I suppose. Do you know what I mean? So just get on and do it, innit? Cause some trouble. All right, so folks, I'm going to play Darren's rap out now, and I'm sure I'll get Facebook complaining, but this is the man that rapped it and wrote it, and plus he did the theme at the start of the show. So thank you, Darren, for coming on. It's been amazing. Thank you. And we'll play this out. Awesome.
Okay, picking it up here in Wilmington, North Carolina, right at the Intercoastal. We're in one of these bands. So that's Mike Seidel in Wilmington, North Carolina, but as he races and fights to win Friday, check out the two guys who seem to walk right by him in the background there with no trouble at all. The video has been shared more than 1 million times on social media. Now it's the
cruising, losing, looking for some news, and losing is amusing. Other people choosing the topics I can view and the subjects I can chew on, the facts that I can spew and the news they put their slew on. Twisty, turny, wriggly, wormy, squealy, squirmy news. Psychopathic journalists deceiving with their views, tightening like a tourniquet, they're aiming to confuse. Nightly negative narratives narrating you the blues. Blues and twos, new taboos, the pasta's all sold out. The hurricane's incoming and the world is dying out. Asteroids, blasteroids, steroids in their tails. The windiest ever windy gales are blowing in the dales. The sea levels are rising at a super duper rate. 247 365, the caliphate's your fate. Tidal waves are waving like the death rays from the sun. Duck and cover, stand your ground, there's nowhere else to run.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing, and indeed it has. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy.
Writing, fighting, to publish stuff exciting. Losing is amusing, other people choosing the posts that I can post and the documents I can read from, the info I can feed from, the facts the checkers get wrong. Sleazy, slimy, geeky, grimy, blackout, soulless tech, concluding with a clickety-click what's wrong and what's correct. Politically encouraged with protection from the law. They're getting pretty ruthless now, they're panicking for sure. Scrubbing out the info like a scrubber in a tub, deleting the derogatory of the members in their club. Documents and studies disappear without a trace. Psychopathic moral, unless they're doing it in your face. The info is erasing at a super duper rate. Breach community standards, your account will feel a fate. Post a funny meme means that you hate and are extreme. No chance of an appeal cause you're white and so supreme. Doctors, nurses, science